Hey, what is up guys, I'm Xteria, and in this video we're going to be talking about the meta comps of patch 14.7. Now, since this is like the second to last patch of the current set, I'm not going to explain every detail on how to play every comp because most of these comps is kind of repeated, but I will highlight on how to win with these comps and what are the conditions to play them. And speaking of almost at the end of the set, this will probably be my last video for this set as well, since I'm not really enjoying set 14 anymore and I'm just in the set 15 waiting room at the moment. I might make a video about how to play Ziggs, but as of right now, that comp isn't too popular at the moment. We just have to wait it out until we know how to play that comp. Going right down to business, if you're new here, I give you guys this Google Doc. You can use it however you want. You just go to the tier list page and you can click on whatever portrait of the comp you want to play. This will pop up a link and you just click it. It will show you to the slide you want to go to. Or if you have comps that has two different directions, say for example like Vex comp, then I'll show you the two different directions, what tier it is. For example, the Vinny Corp Vex is S tier compared to Exotech Vex is more like a B tier comp. So you choose whatever one you want. And these two has different directions or reasons on why you want to play them. So in this tier list, we categorize it as S, A, and B tier. And what's the difference between all of them? S tier is basically saying, if you play this comp, you kind of guarantee top 4 if you level 2 everything. And it has a high potential to be first place if you have good enough augments. A tier is basically saying, same thing like S tier, if you level 2 everything, it's a guaranteed top 4. The issue with these comps is that you need to fast 9 in order to get first place with these comps, but at least it's strong enough to get top 4. And on top of that, 2-star and 5 cost units are very hard, which most of these comps need, besides Zeri comp. Zeri comp at the moment is just a little bit weaker for strength, so they nerf Exotech this patch. B tier is more like, it's only meant for top 4s and you rarely get first place, but sometimes you might have to pivot into these comps. Or if you high roll like one of the reroll comps, like Kog'Maw reroll or Mundo reroll, then it's an easy top 4 to gain some sort of LP. So you at least won't go 8th and you guarantee your spot to gain some LP. The first comp we're going to be talking about here is Misfortune, and this is the more cap version, meaning you have to fast 9 and pit a lot of legendaries. In order to play this comp, you kind of need to play from a win streak perspective. What I mean by that is you want to at least win most of stage 2, 3, and then stage 4 you can sack, meaning you can lose a little bit, so you can hit fast 9 on stage 5. And then you can transfer from the regular version board, which if you click on this, it'll give you to the regular board link. You can play this for now until you can pivot into the legendary version, which is actually very, very strong to play later in the game for first place. But if you don't want to play this version because it's too hard to play, the regular version is okay as well. They both play the same way. The difference is one is just you have to fast 9. This one you can play at level 8 and you'll be okay. The direction you want to play this comp is to have either swords, so you can play for MF, or you can get tiers, so you can play for Elise carry. They're both really great units. You can play whichever one as you want as the main carry. But if you play this board, the regular version, because you can be playing Syndicate, put the Kingpin hat on Braum, because if you put it on MF, your front line will just get deleted, and MF will probably only cast 1 time. If you put it on Braum with pretty good tank items, he will last you long enough for maybe MF to cast at least 2 or 3 times. So therefore, putting Kingpin hat on Braum would be the best, but you also have to prioritize tank items as well on Braum. So this comp is a very item-heavy comp. So look for a lot of item augments so you can have a lot of multiple carries on the board. And then when you hit level 9, you can just throw in Zac, then transfer the tank items to Zac and put the Kingpin hat on MF, because at that point, Zac is strong enough for you to make MF cast 2 or 3 times. Unless you play the legendary version, this board will just destroy everything because you have a lot of CC, since Kubuko and Zac provide CC. Renekton does pretty good damage, and the tank of this board, if you 2-star all the front line, lasts long enough for you to win rounds. Next time we're going to be talking about here is Anima Squad comp, and this comp is actually really simple. There's really not much to it for this comp. The only tip I can give for this comp is that at level 8, it's better playing 2 Bastions over playing 2 Marksmen. Yes, your main carry is going to be Xayah, but the thing about this comp is that the Anima Squad weapons is strong enough to carry you to fast 9, then you can throw out Jhin at level 9. So basically you play this board that you see here about the Jhin, and I would prefer Seraphine over either the Vayne or Yuumi, because maybe you could play Veigar instead, so you can get that techie on the board. But if you want to play the max cap version, this is basically it. But at level 8, you just throw in a Bastion unit like either Sejuani 2 or a Galio 2, so you can proceed to hit fast 9 and then switch into either playing Renekton or Veigar. And if you do have Veigar, then just use Seraphine over Yuumi in my opinion, but you can substitute it for either Vayne, either one is fine. As long as you have 7 Anima Squad is all that is important. And then throw out Jhin. So you can have Marksman with Xayah, and you can get Dynamo with Aurora. Then you could probably climb at least top 2s with this comp every time. If you think this board is weak, it's mainly because maybe your augments aren't strong enough for you to win with them, or you just didn't level 2 fast enough when you hit level 8 for all the Anima Squad units, because for each unit of Anima Squad is upgraded, the more damage the Anima Squad weapon does. So that's why it's very important to 2-star every Anima Squad unit you have. Despite the nerfs, Graves is still one of the most powerful reroll comps to play in the current meta. In order to play this comp, you kind of need to have a Graves on drop with a sword, so this kind of indicates that you do want to force this comp. In order to win with this comp, you need to stack your Golden Ox every round. If you want to learn how to do that, I do have a video about how to play this comp, so if you want to check that out, it will be this thumbnail here, and you can just look for it in my YouTube channel. Other than that, there's not really much to say. It's just stack as much as you can, look for Asterix Gauge, and hopefully you can get one of these artifact items because they're very powerful on Graves, especially Titanic Hydra and Special Cutlass. These two are like the best on Graves and they're actually super powerful on him. Infinity Force is okay, it's just decent stats overall. Or Mittens is also really good on Graves. But if you have either Titanic Hydra or Trench Cloak on Graves, it's easy top 2 as long as you're 3-star Graves. And that's about it for this comp. There's not really much to say. It's just very easy like reroll comp. Just hit your stacks, win the game, and then play next. Next comp we're going to be talking about here has 2 different versions, which is playing either the Corp or Exotech. And you may notice that there's different tiers for these comps. And you might be asking, why would you ever want to play the B tier comp version over the S tier comp version? And the reason for that is the B tier comp version caps out at level 8 and it makes the board stronger at level 9, but the S tier comp you kind of have to play it at a level 9 angle, and on top of that you do need an emblem, so it's a little bit harder to play compared to the Exotech version. But regardless, they're both actually really good overall. It's just the B tier comp version, strength wise, it's just a lot weaker compared to the S tier comp version, which we're going to show right now is a lot stronger. In order to play this comp, like I said, you kind of need the emblem on Urgot. If you don't have emblem, it'll be okay to play this comp. Just look for a Garen and Garen modify Urgot into a Divinity Corp then, and that'll be fine as well. But then the issue is you have to play 3 legendaries, which is Urgot, Renekton, and Garen, which is really expensive to do. To play both of the versions of either Divinity Corp or Exotech, you kind of need to play from a loose streak angle because you need to prioritize tiers on Carousel so you can guarantee your blue buff on Vex, which is one of her best items ever. So you have to build blue buff on her. If you don't, she'll just be too weak and you just lose the game overall. Unless you have Pandora's items, then you can play from a Wishy's perspective from there because you can guarantee your blue buff with that augment. If you do decide to loose streak, just look for Cypher so you can gain more resources on top of that. And to play the Exotech version, you kind of need the specific items for Varus, which is either Hyper Fangs or Hollowbow. If you don't have those, do not play this version, just play the Divinity Corp no matter what. Other than that, it's just make great decision making on either playing Divinity Corp or Exotech. Next up we got is one of my favorite comps, which is Rapid Fire Renekton. The power of this comp is S tier, but I feel like most people don't know how to play it, that the win rate is actually pretty low. Because every time when I play this comp, it's always at least a guaranteed like top 3. And the direction you kind of want to play this comp is if you have the emblem for Rapid Fire on Renekton, it's actually really strong on him. And the things you kind of want to look for is one of these Exotech items you see here. Hollowbow is okay now on Zeri since they kind of changed it a little bit, but for the most part, if you want to guarantee a win, you kind of need either Flux Capacitator or Pulse Stabilizer. If not, any of the tank Exotech ones for Sejuani is fine. And this comp is either a win or a lose streak angle. If you do decide to lose streak, just play from a Cypher's perspective so you can get enough resources to win the game with, and look for as much item augments or econ augments as you can so you can fast 9. Also, do not build Quincy's Rageblade on this board because 6 Rapid Fire is fast enough to where you don't need Quincy's Rageblade. So just look for every sword item you possibly can. Or if you do get a bow item, just make a Kraken on Zeri and it's actually really good on her instead of having IE. Or you can use it as your 3rd item if you don't have an Exotech item for Zeri. Now going into the A tier comps we're going to be talking about is Zeri Exotech. And this comp is actually really easy. It's just play all these units you see here on screen. Just win streak, or if you do decide to lose streak, play Cypher so you can get enough resources for the board. And what makes you really want to force playing this comp is if you have Flux Capacitator or if you have Pulse Stabilizer on Zeri. Then the rest of the items don't really matter. Just put it on these units that you see here. You could put the green item on Sejuani, that's fine as well. It's just really strong on Mordekaiser because this item allows you to gain more shield, and Mordekaiser's ability is a shield ability, so that's why it's really good on him. Other than that, there's not really much to say. It's just try your best to play this board, and it's an easy top 4. Next up we're going to be talking about here is Brand Street Demon, and I feel like this comp is kind of in a weird spot because personally I think Brand is really weak, but I think the reason why this comp is so strong is because they buffed Zig, and Ziggs is actually a really powerful unit, so that's probably the main reason why this board is super strong. And once we understand how to play Ziggs comp, I'll make a video about that later. But for now, we're just going to be talking about Brand Street Demon because for whatever reason, it has a high win rate. In order to play this comp, you kind of need to play from a win streak perspective. So you kind of have to open with your Street Demon units. And then you need Shojin or Jewel Gauntlet on Xayah, and you can win streak with that. So you can pivot into Brand Carry later in the game. And this board, you do need to hit fast 9 because you need to fit in Ziggs and Kubuko. And Kubuko is very powerful for the board because he provides a lot of CC, and he's also a cyber boss unit with Ziggs. And if Ziggs becomes a cyber boss, his ability is triple the range, meaning he almost hits the entire board with his ability. So if you put anti-heal on him, he would just anti-heal the whole board. Other than that, it's not really much to say about this comp. It's just play all the street demons you can and hope for the best. Next up we're going to be talking about is one of the strongest fast 9 level comps is Urgot. And in order to play this comp, there's two different ways. You can play with vertical 6 boombot, or you can play 4 boombot and 4 bruiser. This version, I'm just going to show 6 boombot. Essentially, to play this comp, you need boombot emblem, and you just play whatever you see here on screen. This comp is so strong because of the Garen modifier. So once you get the Garen mod of boombot, just put it on Vex, and then the emblem will pop out, so you can have a +1 item on her. Then just transfer the emblem to Garen or whoever unit that doesn't have the boombot modifier at the time. This comp is a win streak perspective comp, so you kind of need to win stage 2 and stage 3, and then you can sack stage 4, so you can hit level 9 on stage 5. If you don't have the boombot emblem, you can just play the 4 bruiser version, which instead of using Veigar, you use Mordekaiser. And since we don't need Skarner anymore because we're only be having 5 boombot at that point, just train them out for Gragas, and then that'll be your board instead. If you're not too comfortable in hitting fast 9, there's kind of no point to play this comp because this comp is actually really hard to play in general. So even if you do see the boombot augment emblem, I would say don't take it if you just don't know how to fast 9. Next up we got is Aphleios, and there's 2 different ways of playing him. One of it is pretty complicated and it's actually very powerful, which is the Golden Ox version of Aphleios, or the more easier route, which is super easy to play, and that is Vanguard with Aphleios, which we're going to be talking about here first. Essentially, all you need is just go into his Rage Blade and then a Kraken for both styles of Aphleios, and then for the third item on this version, you need a Hex Gunblade, and the reason for that is because you need to heal your front line. The concept of this comp is your tanks will last long enough for Aphleios just to shred everything on the board, and you need to play this from a win streak perspective. So basically saying you kind of want to win most of stage 2 and stage 3, so by the time you hit stage 4, you hit level 8 and then roll for this board. Then when you hit level 9, you can throw in either Garen, you can throw in Zach, you can throw in whatever looks cool. But if you do decide to throw in Garen, then you could put the Vanguard modifier on Aphleios, or you could put it on Garen himself. Other than that, there's not really much to the Vanguard version, but for the Golden Ox version, it's pretty hard. And honestly, if you don't know how to play around Golden Ox because you need to abuse the stacks, then I would say don't play this comp because you have to spend a lot of money and you have to learn how to play with low econ and learn how to gain that econ back as fast as possible. But this version is actually really strong. It's basically borderline S tier if you know how to play it properly. Essentially, it's just throw out whatever units you can find with the Golden Ox, you just mix and match with them. Like for example here, we have Kubuko because he's bruiser with Alistair. And then if you can't find either Zach, Veigar, or Garen, then you can just throw in maybe like Leona, or you could throw in Cho'Gath instead of Kubuko. You're just mix and matching with 6 Golden Ox, which did got nerfed a little bit last patch on 14.6, but it's still one of the really powerful comps to play in the current meta. Next up we're going to be talking about is Amp, and Amp has been very strong for the past month, but this patch is pretty decent. In order to play this version of Amp is more of the Yuumi carry style than it is Annie carry now. The main reason why is because Yuumi is actually very strong because she's both strategist and she's both Amp. So essentially to play this board, you kind of have to hit fast 8 and you roll down for Yuumi 2. You can play 2 level 2 Yuumis as well over having a Ziggs, and that can probably make you fast 9. As long as you have pretty decent tank items on Nico, this board will last long enough for you to fast 9 so you can play for Samira. The main concept of this comp is you kind of want to lose streak early, so maybe you want to do Cypher opener so you can be at a 10 loss streak, and you need to prioritize tiers on Carousel because you need blue buff on Yuumi, and have at least one meta item like Shojin or blue buff, or if you have to, Adaptive Helm on Annie, so she can summon her Tibbers to have that extra tank on the board. Other than that, you don't really have to force the Yuumi 3 if you don't want to. You can have Yuumi 2 and then just fast 9 to play Samira 2 as the secondary carry so she can delete the whole board. Other than that, just be very careful with your HP and make a lot of econ and you will get top 4 with this comp. Now moving on to the beer tier comps, the first one I'm going to be talking about here is the Kog'Maw reroll comp. And there's not really much to say about this comp. It's just start with Kog'Maw 2, maybe have a Vanguard 2 like Vi or Silas, and then hopefully you have a Kindred or at least +1 Vanguard, so you have something at level 3. And this comp you kind of want to play from a win streak perspective. If you lose the first 2 rounds, it's fine, but just win streak after that. And this comp is just consistent of just rerolling all the 1-cost units if you can, but the main one you want to reroll is Kog'Maw 3 and hopefully Skarner 3. So once you hit Kog'Maw 3, just hit level 6 and then reroll for Skarner 3, unless the game's too late. Like if it's around stage 5 already, then just rush to level 8 and then play for 6 Vanguard with 2 rapid fire. Other than that, It's not really much for this comp, it's just hope for the best, and hopefully you get top 4 with this comp. This comp would rarely get first place because it gets outcapped by other comps. This comp is just a turn off your brain comp, and then just hopefully get top 4. That's basically about it. Another popular reroll comp we're going to be talking about here is Mundo reroll, and it did got nerfed a little bit. This comp, now you have to actually prioritize Mundo and Xayah, because if you don't, you're probably not going to get top 4 with this comp. Essentially, this comp is just high roll a Mundo 2, and then hopefully you get either Alistair 2, Xayah 2, or Seraphine 2 with him. And you just play 2 Bruiser with 1 backline. And then it doesn't really matter if you win or lose streak with this comp. It's just make enough econ you can so you can play for fast 8 or fast 9 later in the game. If you have a techie emblem, that's even better because you can cap out at level 8 instead of capping out at level 9. Essentially, you just want to 3-star 1 tank unit, which is most likely Mundo. He's going to be your main tank. Put all build items you can on him, and then just 3-star 1 of the backline units like Xayah or Seraphine, and then fast 9 to play 6 techie with 4 bruiser, and you probably win out with this comp. And that's basically about it for this comp. Next up we're going to be talking about is one of my favorite reroll comps, and I wish it was a little bit stronger, but it's a pretty decent comp overall. In order to play this comp, you kind of need to start with Twist of Fate with like a bow item, and in order to win out with this comp, you kind of have to 3-star both TF and Braum level 3, and these two are the units you're going to put the Kingpin hat on so they can gain a lot of stats. But if you don't have 5 Syndicate yet and only 3, just put the Kingpin hat on TF first and then put it on Braum on the second one later. Essentially, this comp is just hopefully Braum could tank long enough for Twist of Fate to kill everything and hope for the best. This comp could be played from a loose streak perspective with Cypher, or you can play win streak with the TF with Gwynsu's Rage Blade. Other than that, that's basically about it. Just hope for the best that you can win with him. Next up, we got a comp that is actually pretty powerful if you get the Divinity Corp emblem, and that would be Zed Divinity Corp. In order to play this comp, you need the emblem, and you have to have at least an IE or Edge and Knight, or even Sterex. So basically some sort of sword item to start out with. Essentially, you can be playing with a Shaco opener, and you pivot into this board. This board is actually pretty decent overall because you can also play Senna reroll, and Senna is actually pretty strong in the long run as well. In order to cap out with this board though, you need to hit level 9 and throw out Garen, so you can Garen modify Zed with Divinity Corp, and you can pop out the Divinity Corp emblem and put it on Garen. So you can have a +1 item slot on Zed. You can play this from a win streak or lose streak perspective. If you do decide to lose streak, use Cypher. If you want to win streak, then win streak Elite stage 2 and 3, and then sack stage 4, so you can hit level 9 on stage 5. Other than that, that's basically about it for this comp. Finally, we're going to be talking about our last comp, which has 2 different versions, and that would be to either play the Augment New High Score. So if you see this Augment, then you just play this version of the comp. If not, you can play the Nitro version, which is also pretty decent for Veigar overall. For the New High Score version, you just gotta look for the Augment to start out with, and you need to have at least a tier, so you can have blue buff on Veigar, which is one of his best items. If you cannot build blue buff, you can also build Spirit Children, which is fine as well on Veigar, but essentially you want to reroll at level 6, just 3-star both Veigar and Shyvana as your main tank, then throw out all the Cyber Boss units, and you can throw the +1s with them. So you want to play with 4 techie, so you have Bran and you have Mordekaiser, and Mordekaiser is also Bruiser with Kubuko, and Ziggs is a strategist with Echo and Nico, and those 2 units also provide Street Demon with Bran. So you have a lot of synergies on this board that's actually pretty strong overall. But if you want to play for the other version, which is the Nitro version, you have to start out with Nitro first, and in order to make this comp very strong, you do need artifacts on Shyvana or Veigar, because if you don't, then it's going to be very hard to top 4 with it. But unless you high roll very hard, meaning you 3-star Shyvana, Nidalee, and Kindred with Veigar, then it should be guaranteed top 4 because you get a lot of stacks for your Nitro synergy, and you just throw out all the Cyber Boss units that you can over time, and that's basically about it for this version of Veigar. And that's it for basically all of the meta comps in patch 14.7. If you have any questions about any of the comps, just let me know in the comment section down below. I'll try to answer to the best of my capabilities. Until then, I'll see you guys in set 15. Later.